All right, so this is your class on Schoology. If you click on the art folder in Schoology, when you guys go in here, on the week of November 2nd is where I uploaded all of this. So if you click on November 2nd, first there's an explanation of the project. Next, there is a summary of the principles of design, and this is what they are. This is not how they're applied. And lastly, I put in a slideshow for the principles of design. The slideshow is the part that we're going to go through right now. So there's 7 principles of design. Some of them we've talked about before. Some of them we haven't, but we're going to kind of do all 7 together. So the first principle of design is balance. And there's 3 kinds of balance. There's symmetrical balance, asymmetrical, and radial. Our skull used symmetrical balance. Does anybody want to remember what symmetrical balance is? You can just unmute yourself and let me know.
Each thing is the same on each side.
You got it. So if you look at the picture, there's 2 people kind of, it looks like they're standing on a seesaw. But if you split it down the middle, symmetrical, all it means is whatever I put on the left side equals whatever I put on the right side. Pretty easy to figure out what has symmetrical balance in the painting, right?
Mhm.
Asymmetrical is just a little bit trickier, but not much. What asymmetrical says is that if I have something big on, let's say, the left side, I might need to use 2 or 3 smaller things on the right side to kind of even it out. So once again, if you think the analogy of the seesaw, if let's say I can see Cora on my screen right now. If Cora and I go outside in the seesaw and we both hop on the seesaw, neither Cora or I will have fun. Even though it's 1 person on each side, I probably outweigh Cora by 100 pounds. So I'm going to be stuck on the ground. Cora is going to be stuck up in the air. So what asymmetrical balance means that a bigger object on one side should be balanced off by 2 or 3 different ones on the other side. Does that make sense, guys? Perfect. And then radial is pretty easy. There's no mistaking radial balance for anything else. Radial balance starts in the middle and then spreads out in a circle all the way out. So in this case, if you see it, and we have a flower design. So every petal is the same and it kind of spreads out in a circle. How many people like pizza here? Raise your hand if you like pizza. So if you think of pizza, if every single slice of my pizza, they were all equal and they all had the same amount of pepperoni, my pizza would be radially balanced. So those are the 3 kinds of balance. Any questions on those, guys? All right. Next principle is contrast. Contrast just means a big change in things. So something that makes things stand out. On this fish picture, what stands out? Who can help me out? Asher, what stands out in this picture? What do you think?
The fish.
Why does the fish stand out?
It's because everything behind it is gray.
You got it. So the whole background is kind of black and white and gray, and the fish stands out because it's a bright color. What do you guys think on the zebra? What are the things that stand out against each other?
Like they're all the same color, so it looks like the zebra's a part of the other thing.
They are all the same colors, but which 2 colors did they use?
Black and white. Black and white, and everything's the same color.
You got it. And black and white stand out from each other quite a bit. So the contrast is the color here. Does that make sense of what contrast is? So one thing stands out against another thing. It's like a versus thing. All right, next one is emphasis. And here's how emphasis works, guys. Whenever you look at something, my eyes can't see the entire thing all at once. So there's always something that I see first. There's always something that you see first. That's called the emphasis. The very first thing you see in a piece of artwork is the emphasis. There's a super easy way to figure out what the emphasis of things is, and we're going to test it out right now. I want everybody to choose one of these 3 pictures. Once you have chosen one, give me a big thumbs up. Perfect. Now, close your eyes. When you open them, think about what's the very first thing you saw from the pictures. Go ahead and open them.
I saw red eye.
Mr. M.
Yeah.
So for the middle one,
Uh-huh.
I saw that the red apple stand out against it's like all the green ones.
Okay, why do you think that's the first thing you saw, Adam?
Because I saw like a bunch of apples and all of them are green, but I saw one red one.
You got it. So we went from lots of green apples to just one red apple.
So
Since that red apple was a different color, it created a contrast, right? Since that was the only thing that's different, that's the first thing you saw.
And then for this one, the first thing I saw was a bunch of eyes.
Uh-huh.
They were really small and black. And then we saw only one of these huge ones that was red.
You got it. So that's how emphasis works, guys. It's just same as Adam said. This is the first in the eye picture. He saw the big eye first. He could have seen it because it was it's the biggest one. He could have seen it first because that's the only red one. Everything else is black and white. So does it make sense how emphasis works? It might not always be the same for, let's say, Asher and I might not have the same emphasis. But as long as I can explain it, we're good to go. All right, movement. And this is the one I want everybody to pay pretty careful attention with, because this is the one that people get wrong most of the time. Movement in art has nothing to do with things moving in a painting. What movement in art is the way you look at things, the way your eye moves through the painting. So kind of like if I start with the emphasis, that's the first thing I see. But there's also a second thing I see, a third thing I see, fourth thing I see. So think of movement as a list of things. I'm going to show you an example on Van Gogh's Starry Night. If I close my eyes and I open them up, the emphasis for me is the bush. It's this big thing in the foreground. The first thing I see the bush because it's the biggest thing and it's the closest thing to me. So that's why it's my emphasis. From here, I'm going to think about what's the second thing I see? What's the third thing I see? So for me, the swirl is the second thing I see. So my eyes come up the bush. The second thing I see is the swirl. The third thing I see is the stars all over. The fourth thing I see is the moon. Finally, I see the bottom of the painting. So it's kind of the order in which I see things, the order in which my eyes move through the painting, not if something in the painting is moving. Does that make sense? Give me a big thumbs up if that makes sense, guys. Awesome. The next one, I bet you guys know. What's a pattern?
A pattern is something that goes, that happens repeatedly.
You got it. So a pattern is just something that repeats. A pattern can be a big pattern. So in the case of the picture with the bananas, there is a lot of bananas in the entire painting. So the pattern of bananas happens in the entire thing. On the other hand, in the other one, we have a bunch of small patterns. I have a small pattern of 5 petal flowers right there. I have a small pattern of seeds on this piece of fruit. I have a small pattern of leaves here. I have lots of different things that repeat, but they don't necessarily repeat in the entire thing. But as long as they repeat, they create a pattern. Good to go? The 6th one is rhythm. Rhythm is the same thing as pattern, but it has to happen in the whole painting. Kind of like think of it as in music. In a song, as you get the rhythm going, rhythm repeats in the whole song. And art is the same thing. It can, if it's kind of like the banana one, if I go back to the pattern, because the bananas are in the whole painting, they create rhythm. Because here we have teardrop shapes in the entire thing, they create rhythm. Lines create rhythm in this one. Cool colors create rhythm because they're in the entire thing. So rhythm and pattern are kind of the same, except for rhythm is in a bigger scale. Pattern can be in a smaller scale. Does that make sense, guys? Give me a big thumbs up if you guys are good with that.
I have something about pattern.
Yeah, go for it.
The drawing we did with the puzzle piece has a pattern.
Absolutely it does. And then the last one is called unity. And unity is how things fit together. So think of unity as in if I'm going to draw a landscape, especially now with the leaves are changing, I want to make sure that everything kind of flows together. If I draw a nice landscape with colors, with leaves changing into yellow, orange, and red, and all of a sudden I put one tree that has,
This is Jacob Clifford. Now, if you clicked on this video, you probably are.
thank you. Let's say one of those trees has an alien in it. Does that stand out? Or does that fit in with everything? What do you guys think?
Stands out.
Stands
Mr.
out.
M,
Yeah.
if we need to make something and you said earlier something has to stand out, but then with unity it can stand out.
So awesome point, Asher. With contrast, sometimes it will make it stand out. So if we think about the apples, one apple stood out of the way, but they were all apples. So it still kind of fits together. So it's not something that's completely weird. Think of if I'm
Okay.
getting ready, let's say I'm getting ready for school. And I get dressed and I go in front of a mirror and I kind of check out, make sure my whole outfit fits together. If all of a sudden I decide to dye my beard pink, would that make me stand out for everything I got dressed for? That might make
Yes.
it weird and not create unity. Does that make sense? I guess so. With that, I'm actually going to stop my share real quick.